Welcome back to the Black Hole of Real Estate, a place for industry news, tips, and strategies. Once you enter the black hole, you're going to find it hard to leave, and you're probably going to want to stay. I'm your host, Ron Wysakarski, and here we go. Black Hole of Real Estate, episode number 21. So this week, what I would love to talk with you about is hurricanes and pandemics and increased sales and maybe a little bit about new construction. You know, what's interesting is we're finding ourselves on the verge of another hurricane warning. Although it looks like it's going to miss Florida, it's not looking so good for those in the Gulf. We're not sure if it's going to go to Texas or Louisiana or maybe swing back to Florida, such is the nature of living in these coastal areas. And we hope that this one just dissipates and everyone's going to be okay. It looks like they're calling for a Category 1. And if that's what it is, it's not great. But it's not that Cat 5 warning that we sometimes see the real damage come in from. So hopefully that hurricane just stays more of a tropical storm. We'll find out. But if you're looking for a few tips, one thing that we all know to do is to cover up the windows. So if you've got boards, fantastic. Hurricane shutters, even better. If it's plastic and it's tape, figure something out. Cover up those windows, especially if it's not impact glass. I think that's pretty common knowledge to do that. And that's the number one thing that people do. But there's three other things that bear some attention for you. So, for instance, just outside of your home, what do you have in the yard? Are there lawn chairs? Are there toys? What could blow around that could be a projectile? So think about that, because those very things in your yard could go through your window or your door or your screen enclosure, a number of things, or it could harm one of your neighbor's homes. So look at your yard. What can be brought inside or, strapped down perhaps in such a way that it's not going to become even more dangerous than it already is in high winds. So the next thing is maybe you have a pool. It might be a good idea, because typically there's heavy rains, to empty some of the water out of the pool so that it doesn't overflow. So that might be another thing to take a look at. So when it does rain, it'll just fill back up to its regular level and you'll be good to go. Another thing is for water intrusion sites, look at your doors. Now, we know that doors are typically sealed, and especially in the South, for air conditioning. But if there's a door sweep down at the bottom and there's nothing, a little gap at the bottom, that's a place where rising water could come into the home. So take a look at that. There's a number of things that you can do to put in front of that door underneath it, like on the sweep area, that would help work against the water intrusion. And of course, let's not forget sandbags. We have a lot of sand in Florida. If you've got some bags, put something in front of the door to divert the water from coming into the home. So just a few things to think about as we have another hurricane warning. And for the next couple months, we're going to be facing these. So it's best to be prepared for those things that are somewhat in your control. The hurricane leads to us to talk about new construction. Newer homes are going to meet the current hurricane codes, and that's a good thing. And we talk about the roof systems. Well, newer ones are going to have to be built to withstand 150 mile an hour winds, Category 5. But if you have an existing home, well, it will depend on the type of strapping and roof systems that you have in place. So as you're comparing your current home to one that you might buy, whether it's existing or being built, that's also going to be something to take a look at as you're in this market. Hey, if you're just not thinking of moving this year or even next year, you could get something called a wind mitigation report, and that's going to perhaps help you out with the insurance, or at least tell you what you can do additionally to your current roof to make it a little bit more safe. And hey, you might save a little bit on your insurance along the way as well. So, think about that as well. On the topic of new construction, how many people are out there looking right now, or at least thinking about it? Well, a couple things that you might want to consider on the new construction front are the easy ones. Look at the lot size. Anytime you walk into an area, especially if it's in a brand new subdivision, there could be 300 lots there, and somehow they all end up being the best lot. Well, there's a few different ways that we would categorize that. The first level of lots, and there's typically not a big premium on these, is if they back up to another homeowner. And typically you'd be able to put a fence between there and have that barrier. But, homes backing up to each other is probably the lowest lot premium. It's not to say it's undesirable. It's just there's others that might be more desirable to different people. Now, you might also want to back up to a preserve or trees, or maybe a buffer zone that might just be 50, 100 feet between subdivisions or an area where you've got some trees. It could also be a buffer zone if you back up to a busy road to reduce the amount of noise. So preserve area where there's always going to be trees and can't be built on, that might be an increased lot premium for one that backs up to another house. Now, backing up to water is something that quite often is the most desirable. And if you have some water behind you, in Florida, think of them as usually retention ponds and not lakes. And of course, retention pond is a place with the storm water or runoff from the streets, goes underneath the ground and fills up, behind the homes. It gives the appearance of a lake. Now, I don't know that you should be fishing and certainly not eating the fish if you do fish in there. Definitely not drinking out of it. And I don't know that I'd swim in it either because it's all the runoff from the street and the yards and the chemicals and anything else that might go in there. So as far as aesthetics, that's great. So if you're looking at the type of lots for new construction, it can back up to another home, it could back up to preserve, and it also could back up to water. And those are going to carry a different cost each time. So it's definitely something to consider. Now, along with that, certain lots will one day have room for a pool. And if you have the survey, you can get a rendering done by a pool construction company, and they'll let you know what will fit or perhaps won't fit. You'll have to also consider the setbacks by the municipality or the city, perhaps for zoning, to make sure that you're allowed to put that big of a pool on the lot. So another consideration, most new construction does not include a pool, and they really are in the home building business, not the pool building business. It can be done, but it's an additional charge. If you're thinking of getting a home that has a pool, know that from the beginning so they can plan properly for it. And the benefit is that you can put it all under your construction loan as opposed to having to come cash out of pocket after closing to install that pool. That is a big difference. So if you can control that piece and you're doing a custom build, that is also something to consider. Do you want a pool? It's probably a lot better with the interest rates in the 2 to 3% range to be doing at the beginning than to pulling cash out of your pocket or one day doing an equity line, perhaps with a variable rate that's much higher. So just something to think about on the lot, the type of lot that you want, and will it, if you want a pool, will it hold a pool? Now, we can go through all the other things about choosing out your flooring and the countertops, whether it's granite or quartz, and if it's tile or carpet. But a lot of overlooked things are just what the home will do for you down the road with regards to energy efficiency. And not all energy efficient homes are created equally, so definitely look into the ratings of the air conditioning and the appliances and the insulation of the home and what type of insulation it is. Those are all going to play a role into how much your electric bill is going to cost you every month and how often it will need to be upgraded or replaced. So look at that green factor as well. There's a lot of ways to save money on the energy efficiency of the home for years to come. And we want to make sure that you're getting, most or all of what you're looking for when you build. Now, understand that quite often there's going to be picking and choosing. At some point, we all get to the limit of our budget. And you may find out that you're making a decision between energy efficient homes, adding a pool, getting the right lot size, let alone the square footage, bedrooms, and bathrooms. There's a process to this, and you want to make sure that you're getting the right information up front and consulting to get everything you want out of a home within that budget. It's not always easy as it looks, and there's times where you walk in and you get that sticker shock because the base price, it looks really attractive, but by the time you make it your own, it could get a little pricey, and we just want to be careful of that. So understand that no matter what your budget is, you're likely making some choices about what to have and what not to have. And if you can get most everything that you want for the price that you want, that sounds like a great deal to me. So the last thing I want to touch on today is pandemic sales. And we can certainly factor in that sales are up for some reason in 2020. And we can do a whole episode on that, trust me. But what I can tell you currently is that the number of properties sales are up and the median sales prices are up. But I don't think it's because of COVID. What I do believe is there's the perfect storm of things that would make it more attractive to buyers to continue to be in the market. The first thing is it's super low inventory. And this has been the story. It's going to continue to be the story, and that's not going to change. Because there are very few homes to purchase right now, and the fact that interest rates are probably the lowest they've ever been in the 2s and the 3s. I mean, who thought that was possible? You've got this mix where money is cheap. Buyers are looking for something different than they've had. And believe me, the last 6 months, I think we've all realized if our house is the right size, if it's too big or too small. And when you finally find something that's a low inventory situation, buyers are jumping at it. And they're saying, I know exactly what I want, and it's not what I currently have. And not that what I have is not a nice house, but we realize we can get by with less space, or man, we need more space. Figuring that out and knowing that the cost of money is cheap, by the time there's more selection, interest rates, might be higher. Now, this is not a panic in a pandemic. It's just a reality of how long do I want to put off having the right house or homes? There's a lot of beach house buying going on. I bought one myself this year. And believe me, it's that question you ask yourself. How much longer do I want to set aside my hopes and dreams and aspirations? And I think that we find as people are home and have had time to consider these options, they're like, geez, you know what? I would like a little bit bigger of a house. I would like that beach house. Or you know what? Now that I'm home, we never even go in 3 of these rooms. We really don't need them. If we're not using them now, we're never going to use them. So think about that. If you're thinking of moving, right size yourself in this market to the house that you want for the long term, if that's what your vision is. I don't know that interest rates are ever going to be lower. And your purchasing power right now is super high, even if the price is a little higher, but that's what's driving the market. I don't feel that people are buying houses because it's a pandemic and they're scared. I think that they've realized they've had time to reflect by being home and maybe just slowing down just a little bit and thinking, taking stock of what's important to them. I believe that's what's driving this market. So that's my perfect storm for you of why this market is moving forward. Now, did pandemic cause that? I just think it caused people to slow down and take stock of where they are in life. And I believe that was the impetus for people to really think about what they wanted. That's what's driving the market. It's low rates, it's low inventory, and desire for something a little bit different than what you have. And that's what moves most markets. Hey, it's Ron Wojciechowski, and that's it for episode 21 of the Black Hole of Real Estate.